name's Jeff McGovern, representing Sylvanderson, USA. Today we're going to take a look at the Cryonite machine. Well, the first thing we have to do is get it out of the box. And this is how you're going to receive the unit shipped into your office and your operation. So first thing we have to do is get it out of the box. And when you open it up, you're going to be faced with a vast amount of packing material. Bubble wrap, plastic bags, and that type of thing. The first thing you're going to do is pick up the instruction manual and the accessories. And you'll find a variety of things in here we'll cover in a few moments. We'll put that aside. We then have the wheels for the cart. We have the base of the cart, and most importantly, the Cryonite gun, and we have the cart frame itself. So we're going to take a few moments, get this unboxed, get it laid out so we can go over the components, and then we'll assemble it, put it together. We've gotten everything out of the box. Let's take a look and see just what we have. First of all, the items contained in the pouch would be a pair of work gloves, a pair of goggles. We have the wrench that's going to be connecting the components together once we get started. We also have an Allen wrench. We need that to assemble the cart and to put the wheels on. We also have a training CD, which you'll need to review, and most importantly, the instruction manual, and you always want to keep these handy. Moving along through the rest of the components, we have the base of the cart. We then have the cart frame itself with the hose components, as well as the grounding system if that's required. We also have the wheels that allow you to roll around, and finally and most importantly, we have the Cryonite applicator gun itself, and it comes in two versions. This one is called the rifle. There's another one called the lance that puts an extension piece here so you can make the gun longer if you need to. But that covers all that we have in the box. Now we'll go ahead and put the system together, and you can see what it looks like all ready to go in the field. Now we have our cart assembled. We've got the Cryonite gun placed into the unit. There's two rings here that can hold it in place. We've got the grounding wire on the back. We've got the wheels on the base. This unit's just about ready to go. Now, what you haven't seen yet is the CO2 bottle. You get your CO2 from a standard 20-pound CO2 cylinder. This particular unit has a dip tube, and that's a tube that runs down inside the unit to pick up the liquid CO2 out of the bottom, which it then pushes through the hose, and the gun itself turns that liquid CO2 into the Cryonite snow that produces the killing effect. On the top of the tank you have the on and off valve. The connection point is here, and that's threaded. On the back side you have a pressure relief valve. The pressure relief valve goes off at about 1,300 pounds of pressure, but your output's only 800. So very, very compact, very safe system here. The tank is pressure tested to 3,000 pounds. So there won't be any issues in use. When you hook everything up, the most important component is always the little one. And that's the gasket that fits into the brass fitting that we're going to use to connect to the tank itself. To do that connection, you're going to use the wrench that came with the unit. It fits perfectly. Do not use a pair of vice grips or pliers to do this. Keep a hold of this wrench, because this is how you can connect it cleanly and not wear out this fitting. Now on the other end of the hose, we have the quick disconnect that'll go into the back of the gun itself. Once everything is hooked up, the system is then ready to use. The manual of arms for this. You go ahead and hook up the tank first with the proper gasket in there. You can then hook up to the gun, so you have a completely set up system. At that point, you pressurize. Do not pressurize this cylinder beforehand. So once again, I'm going to properly hook up to the tank itself. I am then going to use my quick disconnect, hook up to my gun. At that point, I'm going to turn things on, and I'll listen for leaks. Normally if there's a leak, it'll be right here, and you may have to take the wrench and just tweak it just a bit. We now have a fully assembled Cryonite system. We've got the hose connected to the tank. We now have the hose connected to the gun. The tank is also strapped into the cart itself. We have the grounding system hooked up to the cart just in case we need it. And there's a reel back on the back side of this so you can actually go ahead and coil your hose up. But the system is now ready to go, roll it into a job site and get to work. We're in one of the toughest areas that we can deal with in pest control, the residential kitchen. Very, very sensitive environment. We have to protect the family here from pest issues. We don't want to introduce a lot of toxicants. So what if we had a way to treat this, destroy the pest, and not get this family exposed to pesticides? We can do that with Cryonite. The first thing we need to do is check the monitors we have placed, find out what's going on inside of this home. So I had the monitor here. We're going to take a look and see what we're dealing with. Sure enough, we have issues. We're going to take care of them. We've gone ahead and vacuumed this area. That's the most important part to begin the Cryonite process with. We pick up the visible insects. Then we can put the vacuum aside. We're going to treat up into these zones here. We're going to take the Cryonite machine. Using the gooseneck, we can bend the tip so we can get up in there. And keep in mind, when you're working with a unit like this, safety glasses and the proper gloves for the job. So we reach up underneath and we begin treating. At this point, we've dropped a lot of insects. We're going to go back in with a vacuum and pick those up and get this job completed. As we've worked our way through the kitchen, we've also found a problem with stored product insects. In this case, Indian meal moths. And sure enough, we pulled out our small monitors and we found them. So what we're going to be doing is clearing out the cabinets, getting these areas properly vacuumed, and then we'll go ahead and treat them with Cryonite, and we'll get excellent results. Bed bugs are one of the primary insects that we deal with using Cryonite. And you see me suited up in the appropriate attire to deal with a bed bug situation. First of all, I'm wearing goggles. When we're working in a client's property, be it commercial or residential, we're moving things. And as we move things, we don't know what's underneath them. So if we dislodge something, we've got our eyes protected. Our hands are protected with gloves that are cut proof. When we reach underneath something, there could be something sharp there that could hurt us. It won't. The suit that I'm wearing prevents you from taking bed bugs to your next client. It's breathable, it's very light, but the insects can't get through it. So it protects you, and you can see if something's on you. Now, with regards to the Cryonite system itself, all these things that you see that are fabric zones, cracks and crevices, or anything else can be treated with Cryonite very easily without damaging anything. Be it a piece of wood furniture, be it the couch, be it the table, Cryonite won't damage it, yet it's going to control the insects, it's going to kill them. Everything it contacts, it'll kill. You can add a residual component to that as you choose later on. But the Cryonite will kill all the insects it contacts and give your client relief immediately. Let me demonstrate to you just how the Cryonite machine actually works. The unit itself is going to put out 3 different sizes of Cryonite snow. It's controlled by the grip here. The harder I press on the grip, the more force the material is being expelled through the tip. So a quick demo on how that works. Now that was about halfway pressed. The wrong way to do Cryonite is this. What I've just done is lay down a very thick layer of Cryonite snow. In doing that, I have probably insulated the insects underneath the Cryonite snow, much like an igloo. However, if you use it properly, in a controlled manner, you come along and do a distribution. It's a light distribution of product, and you can see it's already disappearing. You can come back over it again, and that type of layering is effective and it'll control the insects, it'll kill them, whereas this method may actually preserve them. Now, in using it full force, it's entirely possible to blow an insect across the room, but with control, you're just as effective with control. You've got a good distribution of particulate and you haven't blown the insects anywhere, you simply killed them. Cryonite can also be used on very sensitive electronics, power boxes, and things that most normal pest control processes might even destroy. Let me show you. Laptop computer. As you can see, the unit still functions just fine. We would recommend in normal use, however, you power the units down before you treat them. But for purposes of this demonstration, you can see that no harm was done to the laptop, and yet we were effectively treating it with Cryonite. One of the questions we get about Cryonite is whether or not it introduces moisture, because we're talking snow, Cryonite snow, which is actually CO2. But let me do a little bit of a demo for you using a moisture meter. On this surface, I'll go ahead and apply a little bit of water. Now, we'll hit that surface with a moisture meter, and we get a reading. It goes almost 15% from just that small amount of moisture we put here. That surface is wet. Now let's try treating right next to that with a really thick layer of Cryonite snow. We'd never apply it that heavy. We might have saturated that spot. However, we hit it with the moisture meter, nothing. It's completely dry because that's CO2, it's not water. Once again, completely dry with Cryonite. In the United States, most people recognize Cryonite for bed bug control. So here we are in a bedroom. Now, rather than tear this whole bedroom apart, in process, what we're going to do is to expose the zones that we want to treat. In this case, we have a mattress. In practice, we would have the whole thing exposed. But you're going to be vacuuming carefully the cracks, the crevices, the edges around the tufts and that type of thing, as well as the broad areas. The vacuuming process will pick up insects and pick up eggs and give you a clean substrate to apply material to. Then you take the Cryonite system and you apply the Cryonite as we showed before. To the areas where the insects are a problem. This is going to knock them down, it's going to kill them, then you're going to come back and vacuum them up. Now, CO2 levels are raised because of the CO2 product we just applied. More insects will come out of deeper harborages. You can re-vacuum and re-cryonite those areas and pick up more insects and get a greater level of control. When you're finished, you're going to have a bed bug free environment on the zones that you've treated, and you haven't used any pesticide in the process. At that point, if you want to make deep harborage applications or surface applications, you can do that with materials appropriate to your client. But Cryonite is what gives you the fast, immediate control and relief for your customer. Once you're done with the Cryonite job, you've got to take the system down and put it away properly. There's only one way to do this properly. Number one, we turn off the gas cylinder first. That stops the flow of material that's coming up the dip tube and getting into the hose. Once we've secured that, making sure it's off, we go ahead and empty our hose. We do that by actuating the gun. You keep going until you don't hear any more material being released through the gun itself. You have to depressurize the system. I've got it depressurized. At this point, since I have the gun in my hands, I can disconnect with a quick disconnect on the back, cap it, and put the gun up for storage. Then I can go ahead, take the wrench, and I can disconnect here, and then the system is ready to put up and be transported. We finished up the pest control work here at the house, but let me show you a little bit of the equipment and the type of technology we have along with the Cryonite machine. First of all, we have a variety of spray application tools. Should we make a decision to use residual products, these tools are superb for that. We also have the dry application tool. Should we need to apply a residual product to the voids, we can do it with this tool. We also have the bait application tool with an extender. So this way we don't always have to use a ladder to put bait products out if we decide to do that to back up the Cryonite treatments. Of course, we want to be able to see, so you'll always carry a quality flashlight with various levels of adjustability. And finally, we have our vacuum. This is a cartridge immediate containment system style vacuum. It's full HEPA. Very important, because what we suck up, we want staying in the cartridge to be disposed of and not spewed throughout the client's home. So these tools, in conjunction with Cryonite, you have a process, you have a system, and you can eliminate pest issues for your clients. To get more information on the Cryonite system for your business or operation, contact us through the website or call us on the toll-free line.